blasting off. Kamala Harris is doing a speech with Liz Cheney to appeal to Republicans. I'm Brian Kill Me. Thank you for the playlist. You need more clickbait in the title. Campaign Mania. Campaign Mania. How well is Kamala doing? And more. Get in now. Hassan, the Zin towers are falling. Turn around. What's going on? What's happening with chat today? Why is everybody so invested in this? Is it because I said I won't turn around? Is that why? Because like I turn around a lot when I'm streaming to like pick shit up. Do you have neck pain with the 3 monitors? No. I think the fact that I have 3 monitors actually stops me from having neck pain because I look here and I look here. That's what it is. Anyway, we're blasting off, ladies and gentlemen, boys, girls, MBs. Here it is. This is a banger piece of art. Until Dawn remake comes out tomorrow. Every day is like, what's going on with chat today? Gotta ask, what's wrong with chat this year? That's true. That's true. But Until Dawn remake, I played Until Dawn, didn't I? Pat Bev Israel update.
Tell us where you are, and let's start it where our feet are at, and then we'll take it back a couple days, and we'll tell the entire story.
Okay, so first off, is it fair to say that I don't want to tell my exact location? Is that fair?
What? Why, Patrick Beverly? You think what? What do you think, bro? You think Iran is gonna directly strike you? Is that what you think? Oh man, I fear Iran. I fear Iranian retaliation. Like, I fear if I reveal my location, Iran is plugged into the Pat Bev podcast with Roan, and they're gonna directly strike me. Oh boy. Iran is afraid of his full court press. Yeah. Iran knew it was Pat Bev's year for the next 6 years, and they're just trying to stop him. That's what it is. Iran can never ball like him. I mean, true. Not a lot can. Yeah, I know there's a new Tyler Hitler Oliveira clip. Don't worry.
Fair to say? Can I start off with that?
It does look kind of nondescript on the walls right now.
Right. But I am in I just landed in Tel Aviv. Real quiet. Obviously wasn't quiet yesterday. The decision to go back, right? We had some imports who stayed, we had imports who stayed and some imports who decided to come back.
I'm going to be honest, Iran and Pat Bev might have the same field goal percentage. Dog, if you look at the Iranian hits on target from a couple days prior to the military bases, and then say that Pat Bev's field goal percentage is the same when he's like 0 for 12, okay? You're out of your dang mind. If Iran struck target with the same fucking hit rate that Pat Bev did, Israel wouldn't need an Iron Dome. Okay, Israel would be like, oh, no, we're good. Pat Bev wishes he could hit with the same fucking consistency as Iran. Yeah, this is Islamophobia through and through, okay? You might have your disagreements with the Iranian governance, and I certainly do, but don't compare him to Pat Bev's field goal percentage. That's crazy.
I'm one of the guys who decided to come back. You know, I spoke with some of my, Israeli teammates, captains of the team, and, and from their perspective that, Pat, we wouldn't go back.
Bro, if he keeps putting up the shit numbers he's been putting up, they're going to put him on the front lines, dude. They're going to release him into Lebanon. They're going to be like, come on, Pat. They're going to treat him like the Haredi Jews that don't want to fucking hold a weapon. They're going to make him clear out the IEDs. They're going to be like, come on, go up there. You're tall as hell. You're tall as hell, big dog.
Back if it wasn't safe. We would just fly our whole family to us, So, they told me that it was safe to come back, and I'm here now.
Did I say IUD? I said IED. IED. Pat Bev, the only infantry support for the Merkava tanks. They're like, come on, we heard your defense is so good. Defend these Merkavas, Pat Bev. Anyway. Oh, he's the only guy in Israel that can see over the tanks. Yeah. You could rebuild all of Gaza with his bricks. Jesus Christ. Okay, NBA Twitter, calm down. All right. Anyway, we did our, I don't even care about Pat Bev at all. There have been very few moments in my life where I was like, what's Pat Bev up to? Except since he went to Israel. Since he announced that he was going to Israel, like I have been thinking about, you know, the trials and tribulations of Pat Bev. Like, so this has been a boon for his career, I think. Like, it's not necessarily bad for him. Not in the way that like it's not good for his career in general, but maybe it's like makes his podcast more dynamic. What's the October surprise? Patrick Beverly, dude. That's the October surprise. I don't understand why he wouldn't just go to China. Like it just doesn't make sense. Going to Israel doesn't make sense. I feel like China, the wages are significantly better. Like in the Chinese league, the wages are better. Like you don't have the fucking like genocide stink on you. You know what I mean? You learn Mandarin, that's great. That's like our next overlords anyway. You have to learn Mandarin, and you're gonna have to learn it anyway. Like it just doesn't, I don't know. I think someone basically lied to him and was like, no, Israel is like a hotel destination. Like you'll love it. And now he just has to fucking sit through that shit. And he's like, damn, maybe not the best decision, you know? He's too ass to play in China. It was Israel or the Philippines? No way. Really? Okay. Yeah. Kamala Harris is going to be campaigning with Liz Cheney today. Wonderful move. I mean, I know I'm excited for that, you know? I hope you guys are too. I'm always thinking to myself, like, what's another Republican that she could campaign with that has no constituency whatsoever? You know, this will surely move the needle, guys. I promise. Yeah, Israel's continuing to attack Lebanon. I believe they killed 6 people, or I mean, that's the most conservative immediate estimate. But you know, that's just everyday existence, right? Chinese league Hasanabi is hyping up. Okay, that's fucked up. That's xenophobia right there. The Chinese league is pretty fucking. I mean, I don't know. I from what I understand, you get paid well. You get to live in China. There's benefits to it. Very popular. Someone said blackface. No, dog, that's not blackface. Like, I think South Asians they get dark. You know, acting like you watch Chinese basketball. Oh, I never. Come on, I don't even watch NBA, dude. What are you, fucking crazy? I'm not even saying that. I just personally think that it's like if I had the fucking option, I would probably go there instead. I'm South Asian. I just joined the stream just to hear you call me dark. That's crazy. Bro, I was defending like the complexion that some South Asians will naturally get. Okay? What do you mean? Chatter saw an Asian dude that was dark and was like, wow, that guy must be doing blackface. Anyway. Also, that's weird that you automatically assume being called dark is an insult. Chat's fucking wild today. Chat's wild every day. All right. We're not gonna start with Israel Palestine today. We're gonna start with some incomprehensible and utterly idiotic moves coming from the Kamala Harris campaign once again, as I suspect everyone in the chat that are not being paid by the DNC but act like they are to defend their fucking idiotic actions in here will come in to tell me how brilliant of a strategic move this is.
The special guests of the vice president's campaign event in Wisconsin today.
Here's why this shit's funny. Okay? Everybody laughs when Donald Trump has RFK Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard. Like, liberals love laughing at Donald Trump's like futile attempts of posturing alongside Tulsi Gabbard and RFK Jr. to be like, I'm the unification candidate. Like, look at me. But then they think it's brilliant when Kamala Harris does the same thing in reverse with fucking Liz Cheney. Like, it makes no dang sense. These are people with zero real constituencies. I go so far as to say RFK Jr. has a bigger constituency and more voters than fucking Liz Cheney does. Okay.
Republican former Congresswoman Liz Cheney, who will appear alongside Vice President Harris in a city that's home to the birthplace of the GOP. CBS News campaign reporter Aaron Navarro is in Ripon, Wisconsin, following the vice president's campaign for us. So, Aaron, it's not surprising that Liz Cheney is appearing with the vice president. The former lawmaker has said she's voting for Vice President Harris. Even her dad, Dick Cheney, who, I mean, I don't know.
Miss once, dog. Damn, I never miss. I don't miss.
No, you might not have been around, at least not following politics during the Dick Cheney era, Aaron. But for folks like myself who watched the sort of power that Dick Cheney amassed as a vice president under George W. Bush as president, and how conservative he was going back to the Nixon administration. It's sort of really interesting where the Cheneys are today. So I guess the question becomes, what is the message the vice president is trying to convey to her supporters by having two arch conservatives who up until recently would have been political opponents of hers?
Vlad, good to be with you outside this event in Ripon College. It's a signal and a message that the Democrats have a wide coalition. And as you mentioned, it's a bit of a striking political moment. Harris coming to the birthplace of the Republican Party, the Little White Schoolhouse here in Ripon, Wisconsin, where that party was formed. Senior campaign officials say she will address the creation of that Republican Party as she argues that Trump no longer represents traditional moderate conservatives. These are the voters she's looking to appeal to. And for the Cheneys, for the Adam Kinzingers, Republicans that have campaigned for Harris and don't really have that much in common in terms of policy, they all cite democracy and January 6th as a reason that they're here and campaigning for Harris and not voting for former President Trump.
And talk to us about the significance of the campaign's event's location, Aaron. We sort of teased it a little bit in the introduction as being the birthplace of the Grand Ole Party.
In 1854, party members from the Democratic Party, the Whig Party, came to the Little White Schoolhouse here in Ripon, Wisconsin, and created the Republican Party. And they chose this location to debut the first event, really, with Liz Cheney and Harris on the same stage. So it's a signal that they are paying attention to the roots of the Republican Party, and Harris is expected to address that during her remarks today.
All right, Aaron Navarro for us. Thank you, Aaron. Appreciate it.
In 2016.
How was it balling with Nicewig? Incredible. I love Nicewig. He's my goat. Yeah, like I'm saying, Love to the Kamala campaign is doing an event with this person, Liz Cheney. Liberals love laughing at Trump when he brings up Tulsi Gabbard on stage like she's going to siphon votes from Dems, but then we'll claim this move by the campaign is brilliant in the same, as brilliant in the same breath. But we'll declare this move by their own campaign as brilliant in the same breath. Ay, ay, ay. It's just like, This is what she said, by the way. Kamala Harris is a radical liberal who would raise taxes, take away guns and health insurance, and explode the size and power of the federal government. She wants to recreate America in the image of what's happening on the streets of Portland and Seattle. We won't give her a chance. Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing? Like, what the fuck's going on here? Why do you ever want to be associated with a fucking freak like Liz Cheney or Dick Cheney? It doesn't make any sense to me. Why don't more Democrats feel like I do? I just don't get it. Why don't more Democrats go, what the fuck are you doing, Kamala Harris? Like, we don't like these people. I swear to God, the Democratic Party, liberals in general, just don't give a shit. They just want their team to win. They just want their team to win. They think that this is a successful strategy. They don't really care if it's just like repackaged Republican Party attitudes, repackaged Republican Party heroes. Well, Liz Cheney's not even a hero of the Republican Party. You're not a Democrat? Yeah, the reason why I'm not a Democrat is because the Democrats are not behaving like the counterbalance, the counterweight towards right-wing radicalism in this country. If they operated like a Labor Party, if they operated like a party that actually cared about, preserving American democracy, preserving people's civil liberties, and fighting for it tooth and nail, I'd be a proud Democrat. I'd be a loud and proud Democrat. They're just not. Do you understand? That's my issue. I don't give a fuck. I know that there's a stink associated with taking ownership over that sort of thing, but I don't personally care. I have no issue. I would have no issue saying, oh man, like if the Democratic Party was reshaped in the Bernie Sanders image, I would be fucking screaming from the rooftop. I'd be blue MAGA. I'd be blue no matter who as fuck. And it's very frustrating. It's very frustrating to watch the Democrats basically repackage Republican Party policies from 4 years ago and try to fucking hail it as a celebratory, brilliant tactical move. A move that deserves praise. A move that deserves celebration. Bye-bye. This is going around on Twitter, and it's the whole left is not voting for Harris makes them ignore talking point again. You know what's really funny about this idiotic talking point that's going around on Twitter? Republicans vote for Republicans. Kamala Harris is desperately trying to get Republican votes. She's courting Republican votes with no assurances that they will vote for the Dems anyway. So if the Democrats cared about like winning, okay, they would be courting the progressive left instead of taking their vote for granted and then telling them to shut the fuck up. Their strategy for courting the progressive base, or not even just the progressive base, but just like a broader base of support that they could technically create, a broader base of allegiance of all the couch voters, the people that stay at home, is simply offering them things that improve their lives. But they refuse to do that. And their strategy for the quote unquote left, like high propensity voters in general, is basically just like bullying them and then saying like, oh, you just want to, you just want fascism to thrive, I think. By the way, this isn't a new indictment. It's a motion that was unsealed that corresponded to the previous indictment. No, I know that. It's basically the technically it is the new indictment, I guess, because like they had to cut out some of the parts because of the Supreme Court decision that said presidents can do whatever they want, suck my dick. So they had to like restructure some of the some aspects of the indictment as a private citizen, like Donald Trump, the campaigner, versus Donald Trump, the president. I run into so many drooling, ignorant normies who are at least on the front, dumb, medium voters. She's listening to the Clinton campaign strategist, so of course she's bullying the progressive left. Yeah, it's just stupid. Whenever you're embracing accelerationism, brother, the funniest part about this is that like vote for a Democrat and accelerationism is still happening. You know what I mean? Like the difference between voting for a Democrat and voting for a Republican is that you're voting for a stay of execution, I guess. She's targeting the next Trump assassin for their vote. So fucking dumb. Excuse me. Like, we're just bouldering towards the right regardless of whether or not a Democrat's in charge, you know? Bro, I'm actually running out of my zins, dude. This is not good. Fun never ends. Yeah. Why take advice from campaign managers that lost the election? You don't understand. There's a concept called like being a graceful loser, and it's heavily rewarded in the Democratic Party circles. So even if you lose with grace, then we'll elevate you. You know what I mean? I'm a Zinfidel. Democrats love posting, putting up losers in positions of power. They don't care. Stop saying she will lose. I didn't think so. But I don't know, man. I think this Israel shit, I think not restraining Israel might be her downfall. Okay? I'm not kidding. Like right now, the only thing that they can rely on is the Trump campaign being dog shit at communicating. But that JD Vance performance that we watched the other night, if they are able to play ball like that, if they're able to at least like somehow moderate their messaging, they're going to have a not so bad time. Okay. I asked my Republican coworker today what he thinks about Kamala now that she's moving to the right. Can you guess what he said? She's a goddamn commie who slept around to get her job, and I fucking hate her, and Donald Trump's going to save this country. She's also a Haitian migrant. Did I nail it? Democrats are no longer liberals. They are Marxists. Yep. Oh, man. That's shocking. That's shocking that your Republican coworker is still a Republican. 110% agree, especially with direct quote. Yep. I'm from PA, and some people I know are either not voting at all or not voting for her law. I live right outside of Philly, and I haven't seen one campaigner who's not winning it, bro. Are there any creators for Kamala that are publicly opposed to the move to the right? No, why would they be? They're creators for Kamala. I think the role that a lot of TikTokers play is to just like try and look, I'm not going to immediately claim that every single person is a cynical tactician here. I think there are probably some young voters, and this is their first go. We've all been there. You want to believe that the Democratic Party has your best interest in mind, even though they fucking communicate that they definitely do not. Right? So I suspect that there are probably some, TikTokers out there who are like still riding with Kamala, still trying to do Brett Summer memes, And maybe there is a genuine intent behind that. Maybe it's not so cynical. And there are plenty of others who are cynically doing that because that's all they know. That's all they know in terms of like developing a brand for themselves. Like latching on to a popular momentum or a popular movement is a relatively successful way to build a brand for yourself. And that's what they're doing. For me, being a Bernie bro certainly helped my career early on. The difference, however, is that I was genuine. You know what I mean? I genuinely was a Bernie bro. He happened to align with my beliefs. Does that make sense? Which is precisely the reason why I have not, stopped advocating for the things that I've been advocating for before Bernie and after Bernie, right? And even at times find myself at odds with Bernie. Your cynical viewpoint with the size of your audience means that Trump is more likely to win. Good luck with that, bro. Yes, dude, you're right. I'm at fault. I'm the reason why Kamala Harris is going to lose, even though I say Kamala Harris is still has a likelihood of winning. It's just it's getting worse and worse every day, in my opinion. This idea that like I'm so powerful single-handedly is a really stupid idea, because let's be real, if that's true, if I have hundreds of thousands of voters at my command in key swing states, then Kamala Harris is the dumbest person on the planet not to literally knock on my door specifically to be like, how can we get your army of votes to go out and vote for Kamala Harris? How can we do that? Please. Because like, that's how it works, right? That's how it works. If you got hundreds of thousands of people, right? If you legitimately believe that, which by the way, I don't think I have the capacity to swing an election. You are delusional if you think that. And I don't even think you believe that genuinely. You are just like already gearing up for a potential Kamala Harris loss so that you can find someone to point the finger of blame at. Because God forbid you actually point that finger of blame at the campaign itself. That's it. That's all you're doing. You have a very real fear in your heart. Your audience size is massive. It will depress the vote. Okay, once again, thank you for saying my audience size is massive. You should say that not to me, but instead to Kamala Harris if you think that I'm a key to winning the election. Except one of the funniest aspects to this is that there is a massive audience of people that are definitely more likely to vote for the Democratic Party if Kamala Harris and the Biden administration do something that is objectively popular, which is force Israel to concede and stop killing people. Every day, the number of people that are victims of Israeli violence grows. Their family members live in the United States of America, and their anger is not only understandable, but also growing by the moment. Instead of trying to hyper target like Liz Cheney's 8 fucking friends that are in the tank for Kamala, she should perhaps focus on winning the election by changing the trajectory of American foreign policy and our undying loyalty and support to the apartheid regime of Israel that is currently conducting a genocide and also slated to have, like, by the estimations of Foundation for Defending Democracy guy yesterday, a 7-front war. That's what he said. That's it. Yeah. I have incredible sway. That's why Bernie Sanders is the president right now. This is his second term ending. Just call for an arms embargo. Stop trying to do rep outreach is popular policy. Why fight a losing battle while ceding ground to the Republicans? They suck. And it's not going to work either. It's not a successful strategy. This is all the way back in June 5th, June 5 to June 7th. CBS poll. U.S. actions regarding Israel and Hamas. Send weapons and supplies to Israel. Should not. 61%. 79% of liberals. 63% of moderates. 38%, almost fucking, at this point, it's like probably 50% of conservatives that are like, yeah, maybe we should dial back on the Israel weapon shipments. You know? Nah. I really don't understand why the Kamala Harris campaign won't even do the bare minimum to persuade Arab American voters. I understand it. They hate you. They hate you. They hate me. They just don't want us to be in the party coalition. They don't want us to even be maybe inside of U.S. borders. We're just like spoilers in their eyes, you know? We're just spoiling the fun that Israel could be having in the region. Hassan, I'm sorry I called out Henry Daggett yesterday for making $900K a year. I listened to you and Felix talk about it on the Majority Report, and on the majority report, and I literally didn't realize how much profits the company was actually making, billions compared to 900K. So thanks for putting me in my place. After I researched more, I think Henry Daggett should make more money. Please accept my apology. I beg for forgiveness. I mean, look, Henry Daggett makes a good amount of money. And, you know, he's a little bit of an old school labor leader. Let's be real. Some good comes out of that because he's a real fighter, but some bad as well. Maybe a little, you know, he's doing all right. But remember, when people bring that shit up, and if you are a leftist and you're also bringing that shit up, you are playing the role of someone who is at odds with the strike. You are playing the role of someone who is now sitting against striking workers. Okay, that's the only reason why people do that shit. And you're doing it for free. And it's ironic because, like, not only are you a worker, but you're also personally in a leftist community as outright unacceptable. But having said that, you know, to me, it's yet another glaringly obvious example of the reality that of the reality of how far we are removed from class consciousness in this country, that we straight up do Wall Street Journal editorial style slander on a labor leader in a time when there is like a work stoppage happening, right? In a fucking independent online leftist community, there's still motherfuckers who are behaving like Wall Street Journal editorial writers. That's crazy. That is how successful class war has been on the side of capital owners. Democrats have proven that winning an election means less to them than the ability to consistently left bash the progressive coalition throws to shift the status quo too much in a party where civility, gracefully losing, and toothless aesthetics reign supreme. Yeah, I just think it's uniparty, and they play that role, and they play that role well. It won't stop me from consistently pointing to stuff like this and being like, this is electorally beneficial. Like changing the administration's outlook on Israel is not only the moral decision, but it's also the decision that is best for winning the election. That's it. During an interview with News Nation, Trump said he planned to strip the legal status of Haitian immigrants in Springfield. Yeah, no, they are going to do that. They want to reverse TPS on them and then deport them, which straight up is just racist. There's no other way to cut that. That's all it is. Forgetting about the decision to raise money for campaigns. What? Kamala Harris has gotten a tremendous amount of fucking regular donations. You know that, right? I mean, she's gotten a shit ton from big donors too. But like a massive chunk of the war purse that she's been able to create has come from individual donators. You think they're donating because they're like, I love Kamala Harris's policy on Israel? Is that what you think is going on? Like your neighbor? Second union, the firefighters union, first out the gate to endorse Joe Biden 5 years ago, makes it official that it won't endorse in 2024 race. I don't know what the decision-making process is. Today, the IAFF executive board, by a margin of 1.2, voted to not endorse a candidate in the 2024 presidential election. Do you think Republicans are going to moderate on abortion will be effective this late in the game? It's the only thing Democrats have right now. No, but I mean, it's a way to defend. It's basically a way to defend. It's a way to stop the hemorrhaging of female voters, like white women. But it's just not. There are going to be people who are dumb enough to believe this shit, just like there are people who are dumb enough to believe anything. It's more so a matter of like how high up in the priority chain it is for you to preserve your bodily autonomy. Let's take a look. Yeah, by the way, things are not looking too great for the Democratic Party. And it's gotten, as I said, if post DNC, I told you, if they literally cut away at the progressive momentum that they have and message to the middle, they are going to hemorrhage support. And that is precisely what is going on. That, alongside the lack of change in terms of America's foreign policy, which many people do care about, obviously it's not the top priority for a lot of Americans, but it is the top priority for a lot of Americans in key states, big constituencies, for understandable reasons. They will just cut away at their momentum when they go with drill baby drill at a time when massive amounts of atrocities are occurring due to anthropogenic climate change. if you're also doing the drill baby drill shit, you're literally losing out on a lot of young voters who do care about their future and don't want to live in a world where they can't breathe the fucking air, or that they have to learn how to, I guess, live underwater. Anyway, here it is. Union households, the Democrat margin.
Points that just jump off the screen should set off sirens. All right, this is union households. This is Democratic margin in presidential election. It ain't what it used to be. You know, you go back to 1992, Bill Clinton won that union vote by 30 points. Hillary Clinton only won it by 12 points back in 2016. That was the lowest mark for a Democrat since 1984, Mondale versus Reagan. But look at where Kamala Harris is.
There's not way to flip this. Look at Hillary, look at Kamala. It's pure misogyny. Or union voters also vote on the same fucking basis that they're like, the union voters also vote along the same exact material conditions that everybody else votes on. The reason why they went for Biden was because Biden launched a strong pro-labor, pro-union campaign. That's why they were able to pick up. Union votes were hemorrhaged because of this guy, okay? That guy right there is the major reason why union votes and union support went down, okay? NAFTA. Donald Trump, as a matter of fact, used that perfectly against Hillary Clinton by tying the same last name, if you recall, back in 2016. Joe Biden picked up the pieces again by putting up a strong front for labor unions and labor protections. Having said that, however, in the 4 years of his administration, union voters, I don't know if you're aware of this or not, still obviously respond to the economic shock of real negative wages, like inflation eating away at their marginal amount of wage growth. So, regardless of the pro-labor stance of the Joe Biden administration, labor union voters are still normal people who are like, well, the economy isn't doing too sweet, is it? If Kamala Harris doesn't make a bold and radical shift in her messaging strategy to directly respond to their interests and keep saying opportunity economy, opportunity economy, opportunity economy, we're going to give $50,000 in tax cuts to fucking startups, and that's her economic policy, when she has some decent ones that she doesn't emphasize at all, you're obviously going to experience this kind of support hemorrhaging.
Today, she's only leading by 9 points. That would be the worst.
Oh, also beyond that, yeah, I mean, union voters, just like everybody else, are not just like victims of their own material conditions, but they're also subject to reactionary propaganda. And yeah, misogyny plays a role too. Make no mistake. But let's dial it back for a second and talk about something that Kamala Harris has done very well. Kamala Harris, unlike Hillary Clinton, is not a white woman. She is a black woman. And as a black woman, she knew that if she was like, I'm a black woman, that's why you got to vote for me, in the same way that Hillary Clinton said, I'm a woman, that's why you're with her, that's why you're on Team Woman, she knew that that wasn't going to be a successful strategy, which is why she never did that. And I've always given her roses for that reason, right? You can't get away with that because ain't nobody's on Team Black Woman. Let's be real. That's not going to be a successful way to reach out to voters. And it wasn't a successful way for Hillary Clinton to demonstrably reach out to voters either. But she, at least as a white woman, thought that it was a successful way to reach out to voters. She was wrong. I don't understand why she does not extend that way of clear thinking into other aspects of her campaigning strategy. Okay? That's it. That's all I'm saying. She has, like, obviously the recognition to not run with I'm with her as a successful campaign strategy. She's not doing that. Okay? So why not also offer something? Why not also offer something for people to vote for?
Democratic performance in a generation, 10 points off the mark of Joe Biden, who of course won 4 years ago.
I mean, Barack Obama also, as a black man, didn't do that. Like, there's a difference between going and talking to like black podcasters or going on black radio shows, black and brown radio shows, and talking about your background versus the national campaign and what you're putting forward. There was no like Like Barack Obama didn't do the vote for me. It's if you're pro-black, like he didn't do that. Why didn't he do that? Because black people know that America is a white supremacist nation. Okay, no matter how fucking conservative a black person could be, they still know that that's not going to be a successful strategy. Okay.
Was sort of that Union guy, Union Joe, right? Won it by 19 points. She's 10 points off his mark, and the worst in a generation if this, in fact, holds, Sarah.
It is interesting to note that the difference between this, and Biden still won.
Still won.
But those numbers are significantly down. All right, talk to me about manual labor, those folks who went to trade schools.
Yeah, those folks who use their hands. I think a lot of people oftentimes conflate the union vote with those who use their hands. Mike Rowe, of course, has been arguing more people should go to trade schools, more people should get a vocational degree. Look at this margin. This, to me, oh boy, does this tell you about the state of our politics now versus back in the early 1990s. Margin among vocational and trade school grads in pre-election polling. Bill Clinton was leading that vote over George H.W. Bush by 7 points. Look at where Donald Trump is today over Kamala Harris, a 31-point advantage. When I think people think of the working class, they...
Okay, another aspect of this also that you have to focus on is that if neither party is like adequately addressing and making a case for improving the material conditions of improving the material conditions of workers, like they also have a litany of different issues that they care about, like guns or, I don't know, shitting on gay people. The Republican Party does a decent job at the very least of like fighting for those things that people, I guess, fucking care about. Republican Party also lies, in my opinion, better than the Democratic Party does in terms of like how they're going to help the working class. They lie all the time when they say, oh, we're going to cut your taxes and that's going to somehow benefit you. But the reality is it works. And the Democrats don't respond to that by being like, hey, they're literally running your pockets, dumbass. They're running your fucking pockets to give the richest people the biggest tax breaks, and you're voluntarily going along with it. They are afraid of how successful tax cuts are, so they run their own version of tax cuts. They just are nerdier. Okay? Because like when you look at Kamala Harris's policies, like there aren't a lot of subsidies in there. It's mostly tax cuts. Tax cuts for people who want to start their own podcast business. Like obviously fucking vocational workers are not going to, trade school graduates are not going to be like, oh shit, dude. Thank God. Thank God there is a $50,000 tax cut for someone who wants to start their own goddamn small business. No, they look at the situation. They also have the capacity to be just as dumb as any of us. And they go, all right, well, I want my fucking treats. And Trump is going to, give me my treats. He's also gonna own the fucking libs.
They think of people who use their hands, and we know that Donald Trump has been going after that vote, and he is in a very, very strong position, more so perhaps than any other bloc. The folks who go to trade school, vocational school, that has moved from being a core Democratic group to now being a core group of...
Same thing happening with the Latino vote. Exactly. I actually disagree on that one. A lot of trade school grads or small business HVAC folks, that's what they care about. You're literally wrong on this. There was a poll that David Dayen brought up. Small businesses don't care about a $50,000 tax cut more so than they care about access to credit. So you're also objectively wrong on that as well. The $50,000 small business tax cut is literally for nobody. No, they don't care about the dumbass startup thing. They just care about small business focused stuff. Oh, you're saying they care about small businesses, like a small business focus. I used to work for a small HVAC company, and I can assure you he hates Kamala. Yeah.
Donald Trump's massive amount of support among the working class.
All right, let's move on to voters of color. And there's a very specific group that you looked at. And what are you seeing there?
Yeah, we've been noting on this program, right, that Donald Trump seems to have been having some real impact among voters of color, getting into that traditional Democratic support. And I was very interested to see this because we're talking about the working class, right? So this is the margin among non-college graduates, all right, the voters of color. You go back 4 years ago, look at that. Joe Biden won that group by 45 points. Look at where Kamala Harris's support is today. She's still leading amongst that group, But that lead is down 17 points to just 28 points. And I will note that the margin among voters of color who actually graduate college has only been changed by 5 points. 5 points compared to 4 years ago. The reason Donald Trump is doing so well amongst voters of color is because he has really gone in and grabbed a lot of voters that he didn't previously have among those who didn't graduate college. And this is part of a larger trend that we're seeing throughout our politics era, in which Republicans, specifically Donald Trump, is doing very, very well among working class voters, whether they were in unions, whether they went to trade school, or whether they're voters of color. The fact is Donald Trump seems to have gone into a hotbed of traditional Democratic support and made a lot of movement in ways I don't think a lot of people would have thought when he went down that escalator just back in 2015.
All right, Harry Ensign, bringing us the numbers as they look right now. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Sam.
Lol, stream something else. You're right. What are some Trump policies you align with? Absolutely nothing. Fuck, I don't even align with the Democrats. Why the fuck would I align with the Republicans? I don't think people understand this. Like I don't align with the Democrats because of their closeness to the Republican Party. Why the fuck would I ever align with the Republicans? They're absolute ass. And it's ironic because technically from my fucking tax bracket, if I was a selfish person who didn't care about the long-term stability of this country and improving everybody's lives in this country, then both parties are great for me. They're both going to fucking deregulate. They're both going to fucking push for tax cuts regardless. Okay? But I don't give a shit. I don't mind paying taxes. I think it's patriotic to do so. I pay European-style taxes, as a matter of fact, living in Los Angeles, California. The problem is, I fucking hate that so much of that goes either to the military or to the domestic military force, the police. I wanted to go to actually fixing the goddamn roads. I wanted to go towards fixing our goddamn infrastructure. I wanted to go towards building public housing and combating homelessness that way. I wanted to go to education. I fucking despise the way that we manage the funds that we generate in this goddamn country, but nothing changes. Anyway, if Kamala loses, who do the libs blame first? What do you mean, brother? You know who they blame first. They blame the left. They blame Russia, Iran, maybe, China. But most importantly, they blame the left.
In 2016, Donald Trump said he would choose only the best people to work in his White House. Now those people have a warning for America. Trump is not fit to be president again. Here's his vice president.
Anyone who puts himself over the Constitution should never be president of the United States. I cannot in good conscience endorse Donald Trump this year.
His defense secretary.
Do you think Trump can be trusted with the nation's secrets ever again?
No. I mean, it's just irresponsible action that places our service members at risk, places our nation's security at risk.
His national security advisor.
Donald Trump will cause a lot of damage. The only thing he cares about is Donald Trump.
John Bolton's like, he wouldn't let me nuke Iran. That's why I'm committed to the Democratic Party, who will let me nuke Iran.
And the nation's former highest-ranking military officer.
We don't take an oath to a king or a queen or to a tyrant or a dictator. And we don't take an oath to a wannabe dictator.
Take it from the people who knew him best. Donald Trump is too big a risk for America.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
It's funny because, like, people that love Trump don't give a shit about any of this stuff. They just literally are voting for Trump because he just, like, sticks it to these people. It's a cult of personality built around this fucking freak-ass bitch. All right, let's see what this is.
Served in Donald Trump's administration. But I know Kamala Harris is the leader we need to keep our country safe and strong. Throughout her career, she's gotten drug traffickers off the streets and protected vulnerable people from fraud. And as a Homeland Security expert, I trust her to protect the border. Kamala Harris's plan will strengthen our border security and crack down on drug smuggling and human trafficking. We need a president who's tough, who cares about the American people, and who puts the country first. That's Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Like, I can't go to work and mess up something and then blame my staff. Like, who does that? Well, who does that? Donald Trump does that. I voted for Donald Trump and I went to his inauguration in 2016. We tried it for 4 years. It just didn't work. And it's time to move on. Or it's going to be more of the same and the middle class is going to suffer. Take it from me. I'm a lifelong Republican. I'm still a Republican. Kamala's trying to help the American people, especially the American middle class. I think she's going to do a great job for people like me.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Out of the new court filing.
That's awesome. It's great. It's great. Yeah, I'm putting together a team, guys. It's literally every Republican that Donald Trump ritualistically humiliated for 4 fucking years, you know, that represent 0% of the Republican Party's base of support. Anyway, is there ever a policy inside with the U.S. where the taxpayer can choose a percentage of where their taxes go? No. I don't even necessarily agree that that's a good idea anyway. Look how stupid Americans are, dog. What is this? Someone wanted me to look at this. Republicans for Harris are saying that no matter their policy disagreements, they can't let Trump win. A lot of leftists are saying that unless Harris aligns with them in specific ways, they will let Trump win, even though they disagree with him on everything. Yeah, except 1% is the base of support within the Democratic Party and represents a far larger number than the Republicans for Harris. Okay? Whom do you expect normie Dem voters are going to listen to, agree with, and sympathize with more going forward, win or lose? How do you think? This is always backwards thinking. It's like the campaign won't listen to people who are trying to extract concessions from their elected representatives that they want to vote for. Yeah, this is dumb as fuck. It's always stupid. These people. This is the stupidest argument. It is undemocratic. Okay, that is anti-democracy. What shows better leadership qualities than trying to win the votes of people who think she's evil and stupid? Let's break this down because yes, and there is more. First and foremost, if Trump wins, it's going to be because white voters continue to vote for him. The other side of the coin is that if there's a softening in our coalition, we lose. What does that mean? Time after time, we've shown in Georgia and elsewhere that Democrats win when we expand our coalition. Yes, that means we have to care about more issues, but the basic ask for voters in the coalition is we not hurt them. Then, from there, help make things better. Seems fair. In order to defeat the GOP, we have to turn out historically excluded groups that outnumber GOP voters. When our policies kill people's loved ones, we risk our ability to win because they leave our coalition. It doesn't mean they vote Trump. It simply means we have less votes. The GOP keeps their numbers the same, though. It's why Trump's polling doesn't move. For the GOP to win, they don't have to convince people to vote for them. Just convince enough people in our coalition to not vote for us. The easiest way for them to do that is Biden's inability to see Arabs as people and his establishment of displacement and mass killing of loved ones. This violence is so unpopular. It's why Biden's numbers cratered among black, brown, and young voters. When Harris became our nominee, our numbers among black, brown, and young voters shot up. The excitement was real. Then came the platforming of the GOP at the expense of those who have been in our coalition. Suddenly, the softening was back. Kamala Harris running a Joe Brandon-style campaign as a black woman is so utterly ridiculous. As soon as the swap out happened, what did I tell you? I said, if this doesn't go the way of an Obama 2008 coalition, they're cooked. Okay? She literally was like, oh, I'm going to campaign like I'm an old racist white man. And I'm going to repeat the same things that this old racist white man was saying. And it's hilarious because that old racist white man was already going to lose to Donald Trump. Sure, a big part of the reason why that old racist white man was going to lose Donald Trump was because his brain capacity was diminishing at a rapid clip, but also because he had unpopular policies that he was running with as well. Worst campaign choice ever by Kamala Harris? I know. 65% of voters wanted a change, overwhelming majority, even larger than that, wanted a change from Joe Biden, okay, in the upcoming election, and only 25% of Democratic Party voters thought Kamala Harris represented a change from Joe Biden. If you don't understand that, like, that's what people are looking forward to, and you're not offering them that because you refuse to fucking part ways with the guy that was so bad that you are now running for president in his stead, I don't know what to tell you. You just refuse to see it. If the voters didn't want a ceasefire, why did the DNC lie so much about supporting a ceasefire? Exactly. The problem is the voters are not that stupid. Like, the median voter is pretty dumb, but they're not so dumb as to be like, man, my fucking house is underwater right now. And I read somewhere on fucking Instagram or Facebook a headline that shows the exact number of money that was supposed to go to FEMA went to Israel the day of my house being underwater. If I read that, I'm never voting for the Democrats ever again. I'm gonna be like, what the fuck is this shit? You know? People, like, I try to explain this to people all the time. Like, the median voter is dumb. Sure, it's a sea of contradictions. The American voter believes a bunch of things that are directly at odds with one another, right? Sure. But every single person, I like to think of every single person as like 5 major priorities, okay? Every single person in the United States of America has at least 5 priorities, okay? 1 through 5. You just got to look at what those priorities are, pick the top 3 or the top 5, all of them if you would wish to do so, and address a solution to their fucking problems. The issue is we don't do that at all. We just choose to, you know, focus on some other dumb shit. I lost my state healthcare after Biden became president because I make too much money. I was on state healthcare under Trump, making the same amount of money, and I was never kicked off. I cannot afford healthcare. Something needs to be done. Some people shouldn't be allowed to vote. I mean, imagine how relief in North Carolina and other states is handled will be a big determinator on how those states swings. Yeah. It's crazy because, like, I'm not a believer in, like, divine intervention by any means. Okay? But if I was even remotely a believer in such a thing as a Democrat, okay, in a hypothetical scenario where I'm both a Democrat and a believer in divine intervention, I'd be looking around and going, what more do the Democrats want? Okay? Some of the news media priorities, like some of the most significant things that have led the news cycle over the past couple of months have all been key Democratic Party issues that the fucking Democrats have dropped the ball on. Mass shootings, gun violence, even directed towards the motherfucking president, okay? Like politically violent rhetoric and what kind of impact that might have. Natural disasters born out of climate change, okay? Republicans going even further right, so right that like people are grossed out by their anti-immigrant sentiment. These are all straight up deeply in the pocket of the Democratic, like the older Democratic Party. The death penalty, an innocent man being executed by the state, regardless of his innocence. A competent Democratic Party should look at all of this and go, do you see how fucked up everything is? Who do you think is responsible for it? And yet, they're looking at all of this stuff that normally should be directly in their field of interest, things that they're supposed to be offering a solution on, and going, no, we're just going to do like the gayer version of what the Republicans are doing. Yeah, I don't care about this. Anyway, it includes everything from them hating war to money and politics after the primaries to elected officials ignoring public opinion, and the advocacy groups we need to turn out voters are struggling both due to a dip in funding and because they care about this. They're anti-war, feel like their policies are being ignored, and their volunteers also feel the same. They turn out voters and volunteers. We need volunteers to turn out voters. Volunteers come from the coalition that cares about this. It's depressing efforts. Another thing that I've mentioned also, like the left progressive coalition within the base of the Democratic Party also is the most significant coalition within the base of the Democratic Party because they're the door knockers. They are the politically active. They are the ones who create grassroots operations. Okay? And you just consistently yelling at them and telling them, shut the fuck up, hold your nose and vote for me is ripping apart an active base of support that you need to go out and turn out others. I really wish I could understand what the hell you're talking about. I normally agree with your stances, but I think you're wrong here. Kamala's economic platform is really strong. 50K tax credit, federal housing aid, and a clear plan on how to avoid the top of the hour ad break. Best policies, easy. I mean, gray name came in hot, defending Kamala Harris's shitty fucking policies, snuck that top of the hour ad break right in there. It's over. I'm handing over the keys, dude. I'm done. You cooked me. The 3-minute ad break is upon us, chat. This is true. At the top of the hour, there's a 3-minute ad break. If you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe, which you could do for $6 or for free with a Twitch Prime. By connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, you get 1 free Prime subscription a month. Use it on your favorite broadcaster. Here's a 3-minute ad break now. I mean, there is no other way to look at it. Politics can be as complicated as you want to make it, okay? Or it can be as simple as you can comprehend. And if you became a presidential candidate in a historically weird election cycle due to the unpopularity of the guy you replaced at the top of the ticket, then perhaps you should do your very best to escape him. Running towards him is most likely going to be a somber reminder to people that you are just like the unpopular candidate. If he wasn't fucking unpopular, you would not be running for president. You have to be an absolute dumbass not to recognize that reality. And here she is, appearing with Liz Cheney in Ripon, Wisconsin, the birthplace of the Republican Party. The Democratic presidential nominee plans to reach out to GOP and independent voters in her speech, repeating her vow to be a president for all Americans, her campaign says. This was a funny moment. Some personal news. Elon Musk followed me on X a couple years ago and has shared my work and has been willing to respond to my DMs about stories from time to time, including a back and forth we had for a story on the Secret Service last week. Earlier this week, when I respectfully approached him via DM about his Sunday claim that Biden-Harris was fast-tracking illegal immigrants to vote and provided information showing that confirmed it was not the case, Mr. Musk unfollowed me and blocked me from DMing him and said asking him for comment for a story via DM was inappropriate, despite him willing to engage in the past. We did reach out to one of his companies, but did not receive a response. Below is a link to our fact check on Mr. Musk's claims that Biden and Harris are flying migrants into the U.S. and expeditiously granting them citizenship. Buried lead. It's absolutely false, though we were unable to reach Mr. Musk for comment. Now, I need you to understand something here. The article is coming from the Washington Examiner. This is a right-wing publication. That is precisely the reason why Elon Musk had such easy access, or Anna Giaritelli, who is a writer at the Washington Examiner, had such easy access to Elon Musk. That is why this is unique. It is shocking. It is shocking that Elon Musk is so far right that he's like upset about the motherfucking Washington Examiner journalist that he's friends with. I must repeat something here that I have talked about quite a bit. Back in the day, everyone made so much hay about Jack Dorsey and his suspected liberal allegiances and how much that played a role in the way that Twitter operated. Elon Musk does not hide that he is a fucking insane far-right psychopath who is literally giving money to the Trump campaign. He has elevated Donald Trump after purchasing Twitter and utilized the entire platform that he owns. And yet, no such conversations ever take place, really. Like, if you think Jack Dorsey was doing election interference because of the Hunter Biden laptop story, then what the fuck is Elon Musk doing? It is crazy to me how far right the slant is in the media in terms of this kind of coverage. Okay? I find it really strange. Maris's first national poll for NPR, Harris leads 50% to 48 among likely voters, and she leads 50 to 47 among registered voters. This is Maris's first LV poll. Their poll 1 month ago had Harris up 49 to 48. While a lot of people will hold on to this and be like, well, dude, look, she's doing great. She's doing great. She's doing great. What you fail to recognize is that the polls should not be this fucking this unwilling to yield. Okay? They should not be this close. It is not good that they are close. And like I said, it should not be close at all. This is the first time also, remember, since Joe Biden, where Donald Trump is either this close or even in certain polls winning. Okay? Think about it. Kamala Harris has a massive war purse. They've been pumping ads in all of these states, and her edge over Donald Trump has not budged even a little bit. That means that the overarching messaging coming from the national campaign is not working. Will they change trajectory? Is it far too close to the actual election at this point? Is it already a lost cause? Who knows? How much credence do you give to the polls? I give a lot of credence to the polls. There's no other way to analyze it.
Detailing new evidence about Donald Trump's efforts to overturn the 2020 election. It's part of Special Counsel Jack Smith's case for why the former president is not immune from prosecution. Senior national correspondent Terry Moran has the details. Good morning, Terry.
Good morning, George. This is an extraordinary move by special counsel Jack Smith. His sweeping new brief is essentially a roadmap of the case he has built against Trump over the past 2 years, laying out the evidence and unsealed just 34 days before the 2024 election.
This morning, the explosive 165-page filing by special counsel Jack Smith loaded with new evidence aimed at bolstering Smith's case that when the defendant lost the 2020 election, he resorted to crimes to stay in office. The sweeping legal brief comes as a response to the Supreme Court's decision in June that presidents and former presidents are immune from prosecution for most official acts, which was a major legal victory for Trump at the time.
Do you believe the Democratic Party can change? You don't take the other party seriously, so you must believe salvation lies in reform, but I just highly doubt the Dems are ever going to change their ways. No, I don't think the Dems are going to change their way. But I also understand how the American elections work, and I just know that that's not how things work. Like, there is no third-party solution here. You got to work within the boundaries that are set before you. If they are unyielding, there's not much else you can do. You know, sorry to burst your bubble on that, but good luck. Hasanabi 7 months ago.
The fact that there are people out there who are taking the time out of their day to go to an uncontested primary to vote uncommitted is very important. A 10% would be a massive, in my opinion, victory for the uncommitted campaign, especially because of like when it got started. It wasn't like it is relatively new. And on top of that, it came in a situation where, if you're actually uncommitted, you just don't vote. I think people should 100% do it, and that's an important message to send, but we should be aware of what the baseline we're working off here. Trump has created a very intense loyalty towards them politicians among the kinds of voters who show up to this. Important thing to remember here, if the vote is under 10%, people will say Biden did better than Obama to hype him up. That is not a good comparison. The constituency of ancestral Dems who went out of their way to vote against Obama in 2012 does not exist now. New York Times reporting 10% uncommitted. Biden's at 85%. Marianne Williamson and D. Phillips at 2.5 and 2.2%. 10% of the vote is uncommitted, according to New York Times. This early. It's only 5% of the votes coming in right now, folks. Why do people talk about Trump's voter loyalty when he only has 60% of the Republican vote? People don't want either candidate. If this is your expectation, my friend, you are in for a major surprise. Abi kilo almışsın. I'm literally lighter. Bundan daha inceyim şu anda. I just don't have a beard, dummy. I'm skinnier than I was there. Come general election, Donald Trump's Republican base of support is infinitely more loyal and also infinitely larger, I guess, percentage-wise. Not larger than Joe Biden's loyal base of support, maybe even in totality, but definitely percentage-wise. Donald Trump, throughout his entire tumultuous career, has rarely ever dipped below 90% approval rating in the Republican Party. This is a fact that I used to show to liberals all the time, and it blew their minds when I would bring this up. I'd be like, dude, do you think Donald Trump's approval ratings are low? That's fine. That makes sense. A lot of Democrats hate him, but look at his approval rating in the party. It's barely below 90% in the Republican Party. Joe Brandon's approval rating currently is significantly lower than that in his own party. So that's something to remember. That means there's not a lot of motivation even amongst party loyalists for Joseph Robinette Brandon. This will lead to depressive voter turnout.
This would be for District 9.
You wore makeup on camera? No. Anyway, let's get back to Donald Trump. Let's get back to Donald Trump's court filings detailing new accusations about Donald Trump's alleged attempt to overturn the 2020 vote.
But in this new filing, special counsel Smith argues that Trump's actions to overturn the 2020 election were not the official acts of a president, but the illegal deeds of a losing candidate, one who knew he lost and was told so repeatedly. Among the new evidence, prosecutors say a witness will testify that Trump mocked his own election lawyers' false claims about voter fraud, calling them crazy, even as he, quote, adopted and amplified them. Smith also argues that Trump was directly responsible for the tinderbox that he purposely ignited on January 6th, knowing he had only one last hope to prevent Biden's certification as president, the large and angry crowd standing in front of him.
We fight. We fight like hell. And if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore.
This filing reveals that prosecutors have obtained evidence from Trump's personal phone, data showing that Trump had his Twitter account open and active for most of the afternoon while the Capitol was being stormed by his supporters and while Fox News played on the TV in the dining room off the Oval Office. In the middle of it all, Trump tweeting that his vice president, Mike Pence, did not have the courage to do what should have been done to protect our country and our Constitution. Smith argues in his brief that that tweet wasn't an official presidential act sent to address a matter of public concern and ease unrest. It was the message of an angry candidate upon the realization that he would lose power. According to the special counsel's filing, shortly after Vice President Mike Pence was whisked to a secure location by the Secret Service, Trump was informed by a White House staffer who hoped, quote, the defendant would take action to ensure Pence's safety. Instead, Trump, quote, looked at him and said only, so what? Donald.
My goat. He was very mad about the Jack Smith filing. He called it pure election interference. This is lawfare.
Let's get right into it. Obviously, one of the major points that you've been making in your campaign is America's largest deportation effort ever. Now, we know that the government doesn't know where a million or millions of migrants are. We know some of these migrants in our country are protected under due process with a notice to appear. Yep. So how would you remove them, and how would you, as you say, use the National Guard in doing so?
Yeah, you're going to get local law enforcement. They know them very well. They know their names. They know their middle names. They know everything about them. The local police and the local officers and all local law enforcement in their community, they know everybody. They know the good ones, the bad ones. They know everything about them, and they're going to get them, and they're going to get them out. We have murderers in our country. We have drug dealers in our country. If you look at what Venezuela has sent, but it's not just South America, it's all over the world. They're coming in from Africa. They're coming in from the Congo. They're coming in from all parts of South America, but you know what? Less South America than people think. We have people coming in from the Middle East at numbers we've never seen. They're coming in from Asia, and it's not sustainable by us or by any country. And many of these people are up for murder. You know, they took out 13,099 people were released. The other day, it was just released as information, I guess from Border Patrol. I don't know who did it. Nobody knows who did it, but the official stats, it was never released before. Over 13,000 murderers, many of them with multiple murders, and they're now in our country. We have the drug dealers, the biggest drug dealers. We have terrorists. We have everybody. Like we're a dumping ground. They have to be removed. It's not sustainable by anybody. We're going to be working with the local police and local law enforcement. They know everything. They know things that nobody would even think about knowing, but we're going to let them do their job because, you know, they have not been allowed to do their job. And you have local communities right now all over this country that are petrified before the people even come in, and they're coming in. They're all coming in. They're petrified. And I can say what Kamala and Joe Biden have done to this country. There's never been anything done so bad by a president or by a vice president. She was the border czar, whether she likes it or not, and she was in charge of the border. There's never been anything like it. I had the best numbers in history. They have the worst numbers ever for any country, not just here, for any country. She was horrible. She's trying to make excuses now, but you can't. The damage has been done. You can't make excuses. We have to get the murderers, the drug dealers, we have to get them out of our country.
Now, speaking of the safety of our country, we have seen the Mexican cartel and we have seen smugglers.
Bro, they love AI art, huh? Your apartment building under Harris, this is what they're showing in the this is what they're showing at the Trump rally in Michigan right now. This is the stuff that we don't get to see. That's crazy. Please cover Asheville, dude, please. I did. I'm an Asheville native and we are not getting news coverage from the media. Please cover Asheville and WNC. I have.
Targeting American law enforcement with weapons and with their tactics right now. For example, I just reported on 4 RPGs and 8 IEDs found in a Mexican scout site on the other side of the border in the Tucson sector. And then today we're talking about the Mexican cartels using drone jammers to intercept our drone capabilities and our surveillance technology. So how do you counter that? How do you keep American law enforcement safe and our border patrol safe? And how do you keep the weapons out of the hands of the cartel?
We need a military operation. What's happening, what you're just telling me, we need a military operation. These people have become military. They're very rich. They have a lot of money. They're among the richest people probably in the world. They're very rich and they're very evil. And people are dying at levels that nobody's ever seen from fentanyl poisoning, and it comes through the border, comes from China and through the border, and we're going to get it stopped. And whatever you need. If it's going to be military, in addition to Texas, which has really done a good job, with the best of the jobs. But you take a look at Arizona, it's open, it's an open sieve. You take a look at other places. I'm going to help New Mexico. New Mexico wants to do it, and they can't seem to do it because the Democrat politicians don't do it. And we're going to win New Mexico because of it. You know, you've seen the numbers. So we're going to have to get in some military action. And we're going to take, if we need military, look, they're killing 300,000 people a year. I think it's more than that. You know, they always say 100, 102. It's over 300,000 people are being killed from fentanyl and drugs.
Dude, this is why I think it's like extra crazy that the Democrats don't consistently use this as a counter. Like, this man is just straight up running with this lie that undocumented migrants are responsible for fentanyl deaths when the actual reality of the fucking matter is fentanyl is being trafficked by American citizens into the country. Like, he just doesn't give a shit. He does not care when people die from fentanyl overdoses, which, by the way, another thing that the Biden administration did successfully was greatly reduce the number of fentanyl deaths for the first time. So it's shocking that they don't, like, they have such a massive upper hand here, both by simply repeating the truth about who is trafficking the fentanyl, and then by pointing to something that they've done that is a positive trend, and yet they don't do it. It boggles the mind. It doesn't make any fucking sense. Oh, I don't know. The Dems have good orders
that come over the border. We're going to do something about it.
Is it 0.02% of fentanyl found is from illegal crossings, or is it 0.02% of the undocumented? It's 0.02% of undocumented are found with fentanyl. I think it's like literally 10% of undocumented migrants that are apprehended at border crossings that actually are trafficking drugs or are caught with any drugs whatsoever. It's 90% that are apprehended that are American citizens. Yeah.
That's like having a big war. That's not like having a little war. You go to war, you don't lose that many people. In the Civil War, we lost 600,000 people. We're losing 300,000 people a year. We're not gonna stand for it.
Now, when it comes to the situation in Washington, D.C. today, I'd be negligent as a reporter if I didn't ask you about this, Mr. President. Obviously, we know that special...
Yeah, 0.02% of people crossing illegally possess fentanyl. 0.02%. The fact that Donald Trump is like claiming that fucking undocumented migrants are responsible for every fentanyl death in this country is so psychotic, dude. You just hate undocumented migrants. That's it. That's the only reason why you're pointing to them as the major responsible party for this. It is so fucking frustrating. And the fact that the Democrats are not consistently going, what the fuck are you saying, dumbass? And instead leaning on the idea by also presenting their own right-wing border bill themselves is so stupid. Oh my God.
Special Counsel Jack Smith had...
And when the concentration camps get built, we'll say, how did we get here? How did we get here? This is shocking. What a shocking turn of events. Who could have foreseen this?
Filed court documents calling your actions in the aftermath of the 2020 election, quote, a private criminal effort. Can you respond to that?
He's a deranged person. I call him deranged Jack Smith. He just lost the big documents case. That was the biggest of them all. They said the documents case, and they said that was the toughest of them all. Let me tell you, we just won it, and it was won strongly and completely, and it was a total victory in Florida. And he is a person who is trying, and he works for Kamala and he works for Joe. This was a weaponization of...
Before people say, oh, well, his deranged supporters will say, who cares? We don't believe the numbers. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're not trying to convince his supporters. You're trying to tell the truth to your supporters and those in the fucking margins. How do you not get this? When you don't launch a counter and instead concede on the right-wing framing that is not even born out of real data, but just right-wing hysteria, all you're doing is teaching your followers, all you're doing is teaching your followers that the Republicans are correct on the issue. All you're doing is telling independents that the Republicans are correct on this issue. Who are they going to believe at the end of the day? Slowly but surely, you're pushing your base of support right for no particular reason.
Of government, and that's why it was released 30 days before the election. And it's nothing new in there, by the way, nothing new. They rigged the election. I didn't rig the election. They rigged the election. What they do is they rig the election, and then they go around getting people and persecuting people and prosecuting people that did nothing wrong. They rigged the election. These are crooked people. Deranged Jack Smith is a prosecutor who was put there in order to screw up the election for the Republican Party. The people know it. I know it. Everybody knows it, and it's not going to happen. They should have never allowed the information to come before the public, but they did that because they want to hurt you with the election. Now, so far, and you know we've had great victories, but so far what has happened is if you take a look at what they've done, the public doesn't buy it, and my poll numbers have gone up instead of down. It's pure election interference to get an incompetent person like Kamala. She's grossly incompetent. She's more incompetent than Biden to get these people elected. And the voters, they get it. They've read it, they get it. And it's already come out. Every single channel is calling it election interference. Ready? They rigged the election. The election was rigged. I didn't rig it, they did.
Now, you talk about voters, and obviously that's the biggest part right now, right? Getting these voters. You're going back to Butler, Pennsylvania. July 13th, obviously, a gunman tried to take your life, Mr. President. Going back there this weekend, what kind of feelings, emotions?
The number that needs to be checked isn't what percentage of immigrants smuggle fent. It is what percentage of fent is from immigrants. Do you think that the 0.02% of undocumented migrants that are apprehended at the border crossings with fentanyl are responsible for 90%? Like, you think it's the one undocumented migrant that's like bringing in all the fent? Is that what you think? Actually, like, is that how you think numbers work? 88% of all fentanyl smuggled across the border is smuggled by American citizens, and you think like 2 migrants actually brought in, you know, tens of thousands of kilos? That's what you think? All the Americans, they just had like pocket fent. They had like a little bit of baby fent, the 88%. They had baby fent, just a little bit, just a little powder. And then these 2 undocumented migrants are responsible for all of it. That's a genuinely, like, you guys understand? This is the problem, okay? When people who have reactionary framing on these issues are met with the reality, they have to literally get to QAnon-style conspiracies. Like, they have to deny basic math. They have to deny how a normal supply chain and how that would normally work, like how logistics would work. They have to hallucinate an alternative reality. It's that simple. When you are on the side of the truth, if you were on the side of the truth in this matter, Democrats are not, it would be that easy to disparage right-wing framing. It would be that easy to just be like, what are you even saying? And yet they don't even do that. Yeah. Mexicans are hard workers. 0.02% is more capable than supplying 90% of the fent. Lamau, yeah.
Does that elicit? And are you worried about safety, security concerns here this weekend?
Well, I'm always worried. I think that the White House isn't treating us very good. I get crowds that are 10 times bigger than anybody else, 20 times bigger than anybody else, and we're entitled to security. The White House makes it very difficult. We had something in Wisconsin last week. We would have had 60,000 people, but they couldn't provide us with the security. So we went from 60,000 people to a much smaller effort, and we had 40 or 50,000 people standing outside wanting to get into a little auditorium. No, it's very unfair the way we've been treated. They have treated us pretty unfairly, I think, and we have to get better security. And it's really being led more so by the White House than anybody else. I mean, I have a lot of respect for Secret Service. I think they're doing a good job, but they're only allowed to do what the White House is letting them do. Now, I have to tell you that recently, and it was very interesting, they just approved more money for the Secret Service, And it was unanimous. It's the first unanimous vote I can remember in Congress. The Democrats voted for it too. So they want to see safety. Everybody wants to see safety. I'm going back to Butler because I feel I have an obligation to go back to Butler. We never finished what we were supposed to do. And I said that day when I was shot, I said, we're coming back. We're going to come back. And I'm fulfilling a promise. I'm fulfilling really an obligation.
Can I take you back to the border really quick? Is that
Yeah,
okay?
sure, yeah.
Talking about safety, we've seen a record number of terrorists come across the border.
Yeah.
People with flags on the terrorist watch list. Southern border,
Terrible.
northern border, it's happening. How do you prevent them from coming in, from stepping on U.S. soil? You know, you don't have a crystal ball. Some of these people that are let in, they're vetted. That commit crimes later. How do you prevent them from even getting here in the first place?
They're vetted and they're criminals, and we're letting people in without any vetting. They're not even vetting. They're not even asking who these people are, where they're from, what country. They're just letting them walk through open borders. What you do is...
Oh, all of this is, I mean, every part of this is a straight up fucking lie. Okay. Every part of this. If Kamala Harris, which by the way, the application that they're talking about for TPS filings is processed by the Department of Homeland Security and Customs and Border Patrol, which means that like Customs and Border Patrol is in the tank for Kamala Harris, okay, or Joe Biden. The application he's talking about, the phone application, existed under the Trump administration. It was actually put into implementation under the Trump administration, and that the Harris and Biden administration actually continued to use it. Donald Trump himself also extended TPS for Venezuelans specifically, and even Haitians at a certain point, but he stopped TPS for Haitians also on his way out. However, the process in which these people get documented to get TPS, temporary protected status, through this application is essentially just streamlining it. Like instead of doing paperwork, you get to literally do it through an application. It makes it easier. Okay? When these guys claim that that like Kamala Harris just like waved a magic wand or whatever, it's bullshit. Donald Trump has also waved that same magic wand, and the TPS application literally goes through and looks at prior records, like criminal records and whatnot. Okay? It's not, you don't just like get to write a fucking TPS app and then you're like a criminal. And then you basically are allowed into the country to do all the crimes that you want to do. There are background checks involved in this process. When Donald Trump shits on the application, he's shitting on his own Customs and Border Patrol. I remember you talking about this, and everybody at the time were mad that they had phones but needed assistance. Yeah, also the process is like fucked up to begin with. The application is really wonky and doesn't even work.
You have to have strong borders. I had the best numbers we've ever had in the country.
I think his response would be that they lie on the application and Kamala accepts them anyways. Yeah, it's not Kamala that accepts them. It's Customs and Border Patrol that accepts them. Okay?
And it was 4 years ago. When I left, the week I left, we had the best numbers we've ever had. You've seen the famous chart. That's a famous chart that you know very well. You know probably as well as I do. Everyone knows it. And the reason that chart was on display was because that was the lowest point, and that was made by Border Patrol. That was the lowest number we've had for many, many decades, the lowest number. You need toughness, you need strength, you need walls, and we had the walls. You know, I built hundreds of miles of walls. I was going to add another 200, which is much more than I said I was going to do, by the way, but it was working so well, I was going to add another 100, and then another 100 on top of that. 200 miles. Would have taken 3 to 4 weeks to install. It was already there, ready to be put up. And they went out and sold it for 5 cents on the dollar. They didn't want it up. And that's when I realized they want open borders. These are open borders fanatics. If you have a wall and if you have good security, you can stop them from coming in very easily.
Is it 88% of border drug apprehensions are American citizens? Yes, 88% of border drug apprehensions are American citizens. I do not know what percentage of the drugs overall that they're responsible for, but if 88% of border drug apprehensions are American citizens, specifically, and in terms of fentanyl, if undocumented immigrants are only responsible for 0.02% of the apprehensions for fentanyl, don't you think that it is statistically or mathematically unlikely for them to be responsible for the majority of fentanyl? Illicit fentanyl and drug smuggling at the U.S.-Mexico border, an overview. Okay. Data indicates that drug seizures at the U.S.-Mexico border by pound seized are trending down. This is good news. The good news at a closer look can be misleading. Seizures of heavier, less potent drugs like marijuana are down, while illicit fentanyl, a drug 100 times more potent than morphine, are up significantly, 480% higher at the southern border in fiscal year 2023. U.S. Customs and Border Patrol operations seized nearly 549,000 pounds of illicit drug substances nationwide. On the southern border, fentanyl is up, right? Like the amount of fentanyl that's going across the border. Where is it? Let's see. Yeah, drug seizure statistics are down. They're trending down, I think. But it's trending down because of the types of drugs that are being seized. Because when drugs become legal or drugs become decriminalized heavily, the black market, the black market need for it goes down. That's another reason why legalization is actually a burden for cartels. It's a pro-cartel policy not to legalize. Where the fuck is this? Do they even have the thing in here? DHS coordinated effort, port of entry. I mean, the facts that I use are directly from the Department of Homeland Security and Customs and Border Patrol. Fentanyl smuggled for U.S. citizens by U.S. citizens for U.S. citizens, not asylum seekers. An NPR Ipsos poll found that 39% of Americans, 60% of Republicans believe most of the fentanyl entering the U.S. is smuggled in by unauthorized migrants crossing the border illegally. That was back in 2022. Here, there are more recent numbers here. U.S. citizens were 89% of convicted fentanyl trackers in 2022. Fentanyl smuggling is ultimately funded by U.S. consumers who pay for illicit opioids, nearly 99% of whom are U.S. citizens. In 2022, U.S. citizens were 89% of convicted fentanyl drug traffickers, 12 times greater than convictions of illegal immigrants of the same offense. In 2023, 93% of fentanyl seizures occurred at legal crossing points. This is DHS numbers, by the way. These are coming, like Cato Institute is compiling these, but they're coming from drug seizure statistics from the Department of Homeland Security and the Customs and Border Patrol. This is from the cbp.gov website directly. This is what we look at when I talk about this kind of stuff. Okay? They come in through legal crossing points or interior vehicle checkpoints, not on illegal migration routes, so U.S. citizens who are subject to less scrutiny when crossing legally are the best smugglers. Okay? The location of smuggling makes sense because hard drugs at ports of entry are at least 96% less likely to be stopped than people crossing illegally between them. At most, just 0.009% of the people arrested by Border Patrol for crossing illegally possessed any fentanyl whatsoever. Each individual busted for fentanyl by Border Patrol possessed on average half as much fentanyl as each person busted at ports of entry. So here, they have those numbers as well. They literally have less than, obviously, the people that are trafficking it through their cars. Okay? Understandable. Because it's much harder to smuggle drugs in the least reliable way possible through illegal border crossings when every single person is most likely going to get apprehended, as they do. The government exacerbated the problem by banning most legal cross-border traffic in 2020 and 2021, accelerating to switch to a fentanyl, easiest to conceal drug. During the travel restrictions, fentanyl seizures at ports quadrupled from fiscal year 2019 to 2021. Fentanyl went from a third of combined heroin and fentanyl seizures to over 90%. Annual deaths from fentanyl nearly doubled from 2019 to 2021 after the government banned most travel and asylum. It is monstrous that tens of thousands of people are dying unnecessarily every year from fentanyl. Fentanyl is primarily trafficked by U.S. citizens. U.S. Sentencing Commission publishes data on all federal convictions, which includes demographic information on individuals convicted of fentanyl trafficking. Figure 1 shows the citizenship status of fentanyl traffickers from 2018 to 2022. Every year, U.S. citizens receive the most convictions by far. In 2022, U.S. citizens accounted for 89% of fentanyl trafficking convictions compared to just 8.9% for illegal immigrants. Look at that. Legal non-citizens, 7.3%. Legal resident, 3.5%. U.S. citizen, 88.6%. Why is the question you might be asking yourself? Because who is less likely to be stopped? What is the easiest way to traffic drugs across the border? Is it easier to chop up a car and stash it in your vehicle, a vehicle that is operated by an American citizen who will be subject to less scrutiny at the regular ports of entry? Or is it, in your mind, easier to smuggle it with the least reliable method of delivery with thousands of fucking abuelas crossing the goddamn border? If you think it's easier to smuggle fentanyl in your ass, then one must ask the question, why isn't Amazon using this much more reliable delivery mechanism? Those fools, they use UPS, they use FedEx, they use these big trucks. They use these big trucks filled to the brim with boxes when they could have just been randomly giving it to random people to run around in. If you consider that to be the most efficient form of logistics, then how can these multi-billion dollars corporations not recognize that they're just losing out there? Anyway, the answer is children. That's right. The answer is children. Children make the best drug mules, okay? The children both yearn for the mines and need a job, a steady income, and they can get that from the cartels. And they also are they're very good at trafficking drugs. They're real go-getters. That's how they do it. Anyway, this appears to be the case for even the most high-profile cases. Aaron Reichlin Melnick for the American Immigration Council analyzed every Customs and Border Protection press release mentioning fentanyl over a 6-month period and found just 3% involved illegal immigrants. This means that the agency itself believes the most important smugglers are U.S. citizens. And yet, for some reason, nobody seems to be considering this reality. And the communication around this matters. That is precisely the reason why, when you poll people in the American public, majorities of the American public think undocumented immigrants are responsible for the overwhelming majority of fentanyl deaths. Donald Trump lies about this fact all the time. If you are genuinely interested in solving the problem of fentanyl deaths, your focus should be on treating addiction as a disease and not as a crime, legalizing to the best of your ability, offering, safe needle programs and things of that nature, while simultaneously communicating to the American public that fentanyl is not being trafficked by undocumented migrants and it's simply being used as a talking point. Safe injection sites are a really successful way to do it. Who's paying you to hide the truth? No, it's Canada. Okay, chatter. U.S. citizens account for most fentanyl trafficking convictions is not surprising given the location of fentanyl border seizures. In 2023, 93% of fentanyl border seizures occurred at legal border crossings and interior vehicle checkpoints, and 91% of drug seizures at checkpoints are from U.S. citizens, only 4% by potentially removable immigrants. In 2022 so far, the Border Patrol agents who were not at vehicle checkpoints accounted for just 7% of fentanyl seizures near the border. Of that 7%, CBP has testified the majority was seized from vehicle stops, again, usually from U.S. citizens. Since it is easier for U.S. citizens to cross legally than non-citizens, it makes sense for fentanyl producers to hire U.S. citizen smugglers. Okay? When they say removable, potentially removable immigrants, they're talking about undocumented immigrants, not documented legal permanent residents, for example. The DEA reports that criminal organizations exploit major highway routes for transportation, and the most common method employed involves smuggling illicit drugs through U.S. ports of entry in passenger vehicles with concealed compartments or commingled with legitimate goods on tractor trailers. It's so weird. It is so weird to me that such an obvious reality. We have this notion that this glaringly obvious reality is just not true. It is a major, in my opinion, a major failure of mainstream media and the Democratic Party that Americans still refuse to recognize the reality here, okay? What the truth is. If American citizens are responsible for, let's say, 99% of the rapes, and undocumented migrants are responsible for 1% of the rapes in the United States of America, and you are running an anti-rape campaign, and you say, we got to solve the rape crisis in this country by deporting migrants, You are not a serious person. You don't care about rape at all. You just want to deport migrants. Okay? What the fuck? Ay, ay, ay. People crossing illegally through the land border are trying to survive the geographical conditions that care about smuggling shit. Also, aren't most illegal citizens people who flew and stayed? Yes. That's the other side of the story, is that the majority of undocumented migrants that are currently on U.S. soil are visa overstayers, 52%. Anyway, how do we get here? This is the charts that I get to every day. How is it that I have to repeat myself every single day? It's because no one else is doing it. It's because the Democratic Party is not doing it. Please.
The wall really worked. The wall, I built hundreds of miles. It worked. And we were adding to it. And after we...
By the way, think about how fucking easy it is for Trump to just like repeat this lie. And think about how much time it took for me to show you the truth without any sort of mainstream media outlet also consistently correcting the record on this matter. It becomes a futile effort at this point. So futile that even in this community, there are still people who consider themselves to be progressive who are duped by this lie and try to check me on it.
I assumed that they were going to throw it up. Would have taken them 3 weeks, and you would have had a really secure border. And they ended up, really, a lot of it, they sold for 5 cents on the dollar. Think of that one.
And some of that, Governor Greg Abbott actually ended up with, I believe, to build his own wall. Now, Tren de Aragua, that is a Venezuelan gang that is compared to the Mexican cartels, a very violent...
Okay, I can't do this anymore. We're going to move on from this. Okay, let's get to the inside the country that kills illegal immigrants. What the fuck? Tyler Oliveira, Adolf Hitler, came out with a new video. There was a funny thing. Oh, here, we got this too. Apparently, Johnny Harris earlier today published a short form video about a group of Israelis who are calling for people to move in and build settlements in southern Lebanon in an effort to expand Israel's territory. I likened it onto the settler movement that led to the illegal settling of Israelis in the West Bank after 1967, which is correct. He was objectively correct for likening it to that because that's precisely what it is. And yet he got yelled at a lot. He got the boss call. So we turned around and he said, I'm realizing now that I was wrong to equate the two. This is a different situation. It's literally the same people doing it, okay? It's the same exact ideology that is pushing for it, and it's the same exact people that are doing it in many instances. While some Israelis do want to expand Israel's territory by attempting to settle southern Lebanon, this is a fringe group that, under the current status quo, has no feasible chance of expanding Israel's occupation or changing Israel's borders. Interesting that you say that, because that's exactly what they were in 1967. The illegal settler group was a fringe group. How do we get here? Yeah, it's such a fringe group that, like, there are 2 active participants in the governing coalition that are from said fringe group, by the way. Yes, I have the Tyler Oliveira getting yelled at clip. Please stop fucking sending it in the chat. We're going to get there in a second. Anyway, Israel's occupation of changing Israel's borders. This may change as this conflict escalates, but for now, the comparison was an inaccurate characterization. No, it wasn't. It was an accurate characterization. It was completely correct. I hope you trust that when these errors come to my attention, I will do my best to assess the error and immediately issue a correction and let you know about it. Thanks for your patience, and I'll see you in the next video. That's awesome. That's great. West Bank settlers were once a fringe group. Why is it wrong for you, a journalist, to pose a comparison in 2 situations when there were no factual wrongs? Genuine question, lol. For a guy that fact checks again and again and again on every story, somehow makes a mistake or whatever, definitely got the call. He got a boss call. Anyway, let's watch Adolf Hitler's reincarnated flesh and soul get yelled out by some locals. Okay?
What am I supposed to do?
You're embarrassing your mother.
Okay.
You're silly. Look at you, drinking Monsters. You got a girlfriend?
I like Monster.
Bet you don't got a girlfriend. Call her right now. Bet. Bet you don't got a girlfriend, boy. Bet. On camera. You're a clown.
All right.
Dude. Hey.
Oh, I need to go back where I came from? Where? What did I do to you? What did I do to you? What's the problem?
You don't need to be in Charleroi about these poor Haitian people
I d-
making money, and they work fucking hard.
Okay, there you go. That's all we came here to understand. Why did you come in here assuming we came in here to stir up trouble?
This is my...
Come on, dog. They can smell the stink off you, okay? You got that Hitler shit on lock, son. That's right. I love, yo, Pennsylvania, back on my good graces, back on my good side.
Motherfucking pound, bitch.
Yeah, you're thinking it's cute, bro.
He runs the town. All right. Well, good to know we met the mayor.
Bro, you just see, bro. You just need to understand. You're going to mature. Just understand the fact that what you're doing, you should expect this to happen.
I can't come here and have a conversation with you?
But keep your composure. Keep your...
Get his ass. Tyler Hitler Vera, back at it again. At least he's getting got. I hate this motherfucker so much. I hate him so much, bro. He is such a fucking giant dweeb. Vince Vintage, Tyler Oliveira's inner monologue. Please say black men. Please say black men. Please say black men.
Where are you from?
Rome, Italy. Yeah.
Do you feel safer as a woman?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you feel safe in Rome as a woman? Or Italy? Sorry.
No, not at all.
Why?
It's not safe.
Why is it not safe? Who are you afraid of at night? Which men? Men in general or specific types of men?
You motherfucker, you. Bro, he is literally trying. He is trying so desperately to pull, like, it's so... Okay, Vince Vintage is right. Like, at first I thought maybe it's like a little bit embellished, but like, god damn, it's so motherfucking obvious that, like, it's so obvious that he's just like, oh my god, just say it, please say it. Say it, please, 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 please. That'd be so sick.
Italian men?
Yeah.
Okay, they don't need it. They don't need it. They can buy their own. Why do you think they feel unsafe in Rome? Let's be honest.
Because of Africans.
Dude, he literally, Hitler, Adolf Hitler. Straight up. Welcome back, Adolf Hitler. Straight up, dude. It's like, no, man, she said you are the problem. He's like, no, it must be Africans. Of course. What do you mean? Welcome back, Mussolini.
They are afraid to say so.
Where are you from?
Italy. Yeah.
Do you feel safer as a woman?
Yeah.
Welcome back. He's a Polish politician, I think. Oh, I thought they were in Italy. I was wrong. It turns out they are in Poland. Am I wrong? I am so wrong. Not just any politician from Poland. I mean, they have a meatball. Okay. Have you seen this new thumbnail title? Inside the country that kills immigrants, we kill illegals. Dude, this is like what are we doing? I feel like we have dialed up on the Hitler scale. Every damn day there's a new thing where I'm just like, every damn day I am in awe that there is a new, like, even more Hitlerian YouTuber out there doing the damn thing. It is crazy. We're just up in the ante. That's crazy, man. I'm sorry, bro. It's over. Yeah. I mean, I don't really know what to do about all this shit. You know, I don't know. I don't know what the fuck.
In our Money Watch this morning.
You should take a day off. No, I'm too busy serving 3-minute ad breaks at the top of the hour. Here's another fucking we are so cooked moment. Newsmax guy. This would be the wallpaper on the phone of every journalist in New York and Washington if there were a Republican in the White House. And the photographer would get a Pulitzer. That's an AI photo, man. That is literally an AI photo. 34,000 likes, by the way. Here's the 3-minute ad break at the top of the hour, mind you. We ain't making it. We ain't making it, dude. We ain't making it. Nah. It's crazy, bro. Disney animation skull-shaped kid, bro. Yeah. It's all over my Facebook from Western North Carolina hogs. Yeah. No. What are we going to do with old people and AI images on Facebook? Nah, it's just nothing. Yeah. This is like looking at that Jesus Trump photo and being like, Donald Trump is Jesus. He's going to save us. All right. Let's take a look at CBS Morning's Money Watch with Tony DePepe.
And we look at the economic effect of the
Mr. Double Cirque, okay? I will never be able to see him as anything but that, okay? Mr. Double Cirque, shave off the top a little bit for me, please, okay? Went to the barber, but instead the barber went to the moil and asked him to shave a little bit off the tippy top. Mr. Double Cirque himself. Let's see how he covers this story. It's so funny that he's like the basic anchor for CBS. So he's in every fucking news story that I cover. And now it just has dramatically altered my relationship with with CBS in general. It's great.
The dock workers strike now in its third day. This strike has shut down ports from Boston to Houston with no deal in sight. Senior business and tech correspondent Jolene Kent is tracking what this could all mean for shoppers. Jolene, good morning.
Tony, good morning. There has been some relief on inflation over the last few months, which has been good for consumers. But now there are new concerns that this port strike could drive the prices of food, cars, and other goods back up if it goes on for weeks. We're talking about bananas, cherries, and chocolate. Those could be the first items affected.
Poor guy talking about dock workers, but can't dock himself. Okay, listen, I can't dock either. All right. I can't dock either. But at least I could probably do it more reliably than he can. He snipped off whatever remained. You know what I mean?
Goldman Sachs says if this strike lasts more than a week, retailers that sell clothing, furniture, and home appliances could be hit as well. And you could also see price increases and shortages for that critical holiday shopping season. And some big retailers have been preparing for this, basically. Costco, for example, said on its recent earnings call that the company has pre-shipped to get holiday goods into the United States ahead of the strike. But, you know, small and medium-sized businesses may not have the resources and they may not be as lucky, Tony.
Yeah, Tony, tell us about the dockers. Tell us about the dock workers.
Union workers seem pretty dug in. The president said no automation while he's alive, basically over my dead body. So how close are they really to resolving this?
Unfortunately, they are not close to a resolution. The union president has said he's willing to shut down the ports as long as necessary, even at the cost of the U.S. economy. Now, the group representing the ports and ocean carriers said earlier that it increased its offer, but apparently hasn't met all of the union demands, which include more money, a bigger slice of shipping company profits, as well as commitments to limit that automation we've been talking about and guarantee jobs, Tony.
All right, Jolene, thank you very much.
ILA union president, the guy who called the strike, Harold Daggett, leading the strike. Now we're learning more about his lavish lifestyle.
Cheryl Casoni from our sister network Fox Business is here to break it all down. Hi, Cheryl.
Hi, good morning to both of you. And he does have a bit of a lavish lifestyle, homes.
Let's go, baby. Cracking my knuckles over here. It's pocket watch time. My favorite, dude. Listen. Let him have a big ass house, brother. How big is the house of the owner of these fucking massive shipping companies? I ain't seen you fucking cover that shit. I ain't seen you talk about that shit. We have this mentality that is so fucking ingrained in our minds that if you are like on the side of labor, you have to be living an ascetic lifestyle, that you have to literally be broke. Okay? That there is no way for you to, advocate to take more of the fucking value that you are generating for your workers, that it's absolutely fucked up. It's backwards. It's so stupid. And it actually hurts my soul when I see leftists also pocket watching in a similar vein. All right? It's dumb as fuck. And we do it to ourselves as well. So maybe some people in this chat, in this community, will recognize how stupid that shit is when they see a bunch of dumbasses at Fox News repeating those exact same points. I love when like a anarchist will talk like a think tank guy on Fox News, but leftistly.
Got to Bentley. Let's get into this. So first, let's talk about his salary. He makes a nice salary. Last year, this president, Harold Daggett, of course, he runs ILA, raked in $900,000, according to union filings from the Department of Labor. For comparison, the average union dock worker makes about $81,000 each year. Now, let's talk about the homes that he owns. He's got a 2.
Damn, dog. Kind of feels like the ILA local is making a shit ton more than the average union dock worker. Okay. And also kind of feels like he's asking for them to also get paid more. Isn't that the entire point of this fucking strike, dumbass? That's the whole point. He makes that because he fights so that these guys make this. Okay. That's an elected position for the most part. These are some old school unions. Some unions are a little different, may or may not have been elevated to that status way long ago. I don't really know the personal details of this one man, but none of that fucking matters. Even if the union structure is like somewhat corrupt, there's a lot of nepotism in this structure as well. Ultimately, the role that they're playing right now is the reason why they're shitting on him like this. The role that he's playing right now is for the workers. He is facilitating a work stoppage specifically to demand higher fucking wages because they have generated higher profits. They have generated higher value for capital owners for these massive companies. It is perfectly understandable that he fights for his workers, okay, to make sure that he gets more of the value that they've generated. That is at the heart of this conversation.
$1.4 million home, Sparta, New Jersey. He's got a Bentley, which he's been known to drive around town in.
I have two sons at the LA ports. Oh shit. You're fucking caked then. You got lucky as shit, PZ6 Longshoremen's are like dock workers in general are some of the most like aspired jobs out there. It is a really, I mean, it's a very difficult job. Make no mistake, but they have some pretty fucking strong unions for this reason. I mean, they have the capacity to shut down the entire motherfucking economy if they choose to do so, right? They're not full-time yet. I have two sons at the LA ports. There's a difference, B casual worker and book A worker. What is it? Like the LA ports, like they make even more money. Let's see, LA ports, longshoreman salary. Look at this. Look at this fucking bullshit. Look, West Coast dock workers making $200K, demand higher pay. Union fight for pay raise now starting to affect ship operations. Oh man, that's crazy. It's so funny when these guys are like such obvious assholes when they're like, wow, the International Longshore and Warehouse Union dock workers handle cargo across the West Coast and they already make $200K a year. Why do they want more? And by the way, this is from freightwaves.com. Okay. Industry publications like this basically operate specifically with capital in mind, obviously. And it is hilarious because when they demand more, they're not demanding more money to materialize out of nothing. They're demanding more of the money that they are generating for the companies. That's it. That's literally it. It's like getting mad when the NBA Players Union is demanding higher wages or better benefits. It's like, dude, you're a fucking idiot if you look at that and you go, oh, these guys, how dare they? They're already making millions of dollars a year. It's like, yeah, dude, because they're generating billions of dollars of fucking value as wage laborers for the goddamn multi-billionaires team. It's not like he's balling. You think fucking Miriam Adelson can ball like Kyrie Irving? Fuck no. Get the fuck out of here. You have to look at how much value that they're fucking generating. These guys cannot bankrupt their own companies, okay? And they don't. It is a lie. Anytime someone claims that the union demands far too much, they're lying, okay? Because it's not in their interest to bankrupt the company. If they did that, then they wouldn't have a fucking job. It's so stupid. This conversation is so idiotic and it's so frustrating, okay? The ILWU is demanding wages and benefits for the next 5-year contract that reflects dock workers' role in the COVID-era import boom, a one-off event that ended last year. The prior contract expired July 1st, 2022. The union cited a decrease in the members' wages and benefits as a share of revenues of terminal employers and ocean carriers represented by the Pacific Maritime Association. Automation also cut into their labor force. ILWU Local 13 said that this is the other one, by the way. This is the western side. So the ILA is East Coast. The ILWU is West Coast. West Coast ports are more automated, from what I understand, than the East Coast ports are. Okay. And they even, the West Coast ports actually make even higher wages overall than the East Coast ports do. They get paid enough. You don't get to make that decision. Anyway, these are also highly sought after jobs as well for the benefits package that is fairly nice, and also the wages overall. The ILA current top rate for members is $39 after 6 years, well below the $54.85 an hour earned by West Coast peers at ILWU, a rate that will rise to $60.85 in 2027, the final year of their current contract. Yeah. Alex, friend of the show, Alex Press, wrote specifically about this, by the way. We're going to be talking about this as well. The first East Coast longshore strike in half a century is on. When you realize the wage comparisons between the ILWU, which is the West Coast Longshoremen's Union, and the ILA, which is the East Coast Longshoremen's Union, you then understand what the fuck is going on and why they are doing this. Okay? After a months-long impasse between the Longshore's Workers Union and its employers, 47,000 ILA workers from docks along the East and Gulf Coast have been struck. Billions of dollars worth of goods won't move until they return to work. Last time members of ILA shut down ports up and down the East and Gulf Coast was in 1977. Dock workers wanted higher wages and greater job security. New technology, specifically containerization, which transformed the industry, introduced uncertainty into the craft, and longshoremen who handled freight wanted to be sure any disruptions introduced by the shifting mechanisms on the ports wouldn't lead to their permanent displacement. This is why labor unions are incredibly fucking important in terms of automation. Automation is a necessity. Automation is a reality. And labor unions are supposed to be there to protect the existing workforce so they do not get displaced from automation. Trade was only 16% of the U.S. economy back then, well below today's 27%. Yet the work stoppage, which lasted 45 days, was earth-shattering. Shippers said $4 billion worth of cargo piled up at the 30 affected docks in 1977. Remember, last time they actually struck. They did a strike. Other business and trucking companies laid workers off as the slowdown reverberated throughout the economy. In Puerto Rico, which relies on imports for the vast majority of its food, importers began bringing groceries in by air. The union proved largely victorious, winning increases in wages and benefits as well as greater job security. Why do this 1 month before the election, though? Suck my fucking dick, Mind Drive. Get the fuck out of here, dog. God damn. Don't ever fucking come in here with that libtard ass bullshit ever again, okay? Sorry for popping off on you this aggressively, but you got to kill the fucking lib in your brain. I swear to God. You got to kill the liberal in your brain right now. Don't even for a brief moment, don't yell at Mind Drive, okay? He's well-intentioned. He's well-intentioned. We're going to get to that. And don't yell at him, but god damn, it's just like there is that reactionary in people's minds that immediately fucking leans in and it's like, ooh, maybe there's something different afoot here. No, it's pretty fucking simple. I know Fox News blatantly lying, but you're talking like union bosses are not freaking Pampers. I don't give a fuck, bro. I don't care. I've said this time and time again. If corruption is an inevitability, I'd rather have the corrupt force actually fucking fight hard for the workers rather than the assumed corruption in the authoritarian structure of a fucking undemocratic workforce that has no labor union. Okay? That's it. That's it, man. Yeah, dude, he's shaving off a tidy penny for himself off the tippy top. Don't give a fuck. If their workers are properly fucking compensated and he's been fighting for them for 60 plus fucking years, then great. The only reason why we're having this conversation is because he's doing that, because he's fucking facilitating a work stoppage. That's it. That's the only reason why they're pocket watching. And nobody ever fucking pocket watches the goddamn CEO. We take it for granted. We think the CEO deserves all that goddamn money. He does not. Okay? And it's not like the CEO is going to take too much of a fucking pay cut. It's the value that they're providing. It's the value that these workers are providing, and they're demanding more of it. That is perfectly fair. Okay? It's perfectly reasonable. It's perfectly fair. It's bare fucking minimum. Don't give a shit about the fucking union leaders' salary in this process. Nearly half a century later, wages and job security are once again at the center of a port shutdown that will snarl supply chains and send shockwaves through the U.S. economy. Okay? That is at the heart of the matter. Of course it's going to send shockwaves. That's the whole point. That's what a work stoppage is. You got to hurt the company so that they understand how important you are. You want to know why? Because the bosses don't provide value. The bosses do not generate value. If they did, they'd get the fucking work and start putting containers together themselves.
Why are the shareholders not strapping up and working on the goddamn containers? I thought that they were the ones who generate the value. No, they don't. They just retain it. That's it. Their job is to just sit there and collect the fucking check. Okay? In the week prior to the strike by ILA members, which began at 12 this morning, some $14 billion in trade arrived at ports covered by the union's master agreement. From produce to seafood to pharmaceuticals to cars, these ports handle about half of all goods shipped in and out of the United States. Okay? So my point is, you're going to get annoyed. You're going to get mad. Inflation is going to fucking hit. I need you to remember, you have two options here. There's two sides in every negotiation. You can either listen to the media and get mad at the fucking labor union for demanding higher wages off of the fucking profits that they've generated, off of the value that they generated, or you can get mad at the owners of the company for not conceding to the demands being made by the labor union. The media will gear you in the upcoming days, as they are doing right now, to get mad at the fucking labor union. They'll say these guys are corrupt. They got mob ties, this and that, yada, yada, yada. Okay? But you have to remember, the job of the labor union leader is to fight for a contract that he can take back to his fucking rank and file workers that will then democratically vote on that contract and ratify it. So it's not up to him. In most cases, it's not just up to him to just be like, all right, we're getting back to fucking work. However, on the other side, you have the bosses, and the bosses can unilaterally concede to the demands that the labor union makes in earnest. Okay? This is not a one-sided story. The boss is a dictator, technically. There is no democratic process on the side of the bosses. They could just say, we don't want this work stoppage. We're losing too much goddamn money. Immediately, you're right. You've made an honest effort here. You are earnestly demanding more of the fucking value that you have generated for us over the course of the past couple of years, especially during COVID. We're going to give it to you. If they said that, and usually there's a month-long process leading up to a strike, there's a lot of back and forth, as Alex Press also correctly pointed out. It doesn't just out of nowhere materialize. The strike is always the last effort. Okay? Nobody wants it. Nobody wants to go, nobody wants to strike. That's not a thing. Okay? It's a hard process. People get furloughed. They don't want to fucking hurt other workers in the goddamn economy either. It should never get to that. Good management should never allow it to get to a work stoppage. So when they do allow this process to take place, that means they are being fucking greedy assholes. Okay? And if you're in a labor union, you already know that, but many people aren't. We live in a country where the labor union participation rate is unfortunately only 10%. It's lower than a country that we actually destroyed. Chile has a 15% labor union participation rate. Chile, we wrote their constitution. We implemented neoliberalism with a dictatorship in that country. We overthrew its democratically elected socialist government, and they still have a higher labor union participation rate than we do here in the United States of America. So understand something, okay? This is the reason why many of you do not understand how this shit works. You're like, oh, what? Unions? I don't really get it. I just read about it on paper. But this is how it works. This is how it works, okay? So now, let's get back to Fox News chirping.
He's also got a $1.4 million home, according to Newsweek, in Highland Beach, Florida. Elon Musk made a really interesting post on X. He said, dude has more yachts than me. When a picture of his yacht was posted on social media. He also has, he's had some interesting accusations in his past.
Genuinely curious about your stance on boycotting for Gaza. I know you drank Dr. Pepper on the Motosh stream and made fun of the idea of boycotting Amazon. Do you think it's a successful tool for us consumers? Yeah, the reason why I made fun of the fucking idea of boycotting Amazon and I drank Dr. Pepper on stream is because neither of which are on the fucking BDS list. The fuck do you mean?
DOJ accused him in 2005 of being part of the Genovese crime family, but that did not go anywhere, those accusations. He was charged with a RICO conspiracy, but he was found not guilty, to be clear. But, you know, this brings into question somebody that is talking about the everyman. He's known for his colorful language, and he's fighting for these longshoremen. At the same time, he's calling the ports and the ocean carriers money crazy. But you know, he lives a nice life, to be clear here. But he's when he goes into these meetings, he's making threats like, and he says this in interviews, he'll say, people are going to realize how important these jobs are. They can't sell cars. They can't stock the malls. They can't do anything in this country without my blankety blank people. And they're going to realize it. So when you take a really hard stance and a really tough stance against companies and corporations, fair enough. But you should know that, you know, a lot of your property records are out there for public consumption, and reporters are going to find those
Yeah,
things.
I mean, he's obviously speaking for the union workers.
How should anybody see that as anything but a threat, by the way? They're like, they literally are like, oh yeah, you're going to piss off, you're going to talk about how powerful your fucking, like how valuable your labor union is in terms of the global economy, in terms of the American economy. Well, your home address is out there. That's a threat, dude. What the fuck? I love that she also brought up that, like, he got hit with a RICO charge and then turned around and was like, yeah, nothing came of it, but we're just going to mention that anyway. They're so fucking gross, dude. These people literally, I mean, I know this better than anybody else, okay? You know, trust me. Oh yeah, you want to fucking advocate for good wages for the American working class? Guess what, dude? Your home address is public. It's out there. It's like, oh, thanks. That's nice. It's a nice thing to say.
Workers who make, what'd you say, $81,000 a year, but for the boss to be making almost $1 million, have 2 houses, a yacht, and saying we need more money, we're not.
Yeah, the boss. That's a elected position, but he's a boss. Meanwhile, the actual boss at the company, not an elected position. But make no mistake, we're not going to talk about the real fucking boss in this situation. We're going to talk about the elected leadership as the union boss.
Making enough, there are going to be people who criticize that.
But Cheryl, there's also a way to fight for your people. And I don't think any of us can begrudge him that is his job. But when you say things like his strikers have the power to cripple the economy at a time when our economy is in the shape that it's in with inflation, that's not going to endear you to the American people.
I will tell you one thing. The people of North Carolina need a lot of things right now, like water. The homes destroyed. All of those things are coming in from ships. A lot of the supplies that these people need come in on ships. I just want to make that point. And that was made on Fox Business by Chris Spear.
Yeah. 1, you don't give a fuck about those people. 2, once again, don't you think that then it's the responsibility of the party that has all the power to quickly concede to the reasonable demands being made by the labor union? We don't have domestic water production in the United States. Yeah, no, they're fucking, that's stupid. The water argument is stupid that she's making anyway, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Even if we take her argument at face value, okay, even if we operate under the assumption that she's not like just, you know, grabbing onto whatever the fuck she can to make a stupid ass fucking point, what matters is there are 2 parties to this fucking contract negotiation. But notice how they're not talking about one of the 2 parties, perhaps the party that actually has the capacity to stop this without any sort of fucking repercussions. This is why I think it's very important. This is why I try to explain and communicate this aspect to Americans on a regular basis. They do not know this. They do not understand this, because it's not that they're stupid. It's that they've been made stupid by mainstream media that refuses to openly admit basic facts about contract negotiations with labor unions, and instead hyper focus on like these silly ass things like, oh, he's rich, bro. Well, he's corrupt. He was indicted for a RICO charge, but it went nowhere. It's like, I don't give a fuck. None of those are the reasons why he's striking right now, okay?
Damn, this guy's good.